Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to try to get Vampirella finished up. All we have left is the shading on everything. Her head is already finished, as you saw in a previous video. Let's get this so you can see there. I did add a little bit of highlight to her hair, and that is only done with purple mica powder. I just put the mica powder on my brush and basically highlighted just the outside edges of it with the purple mica powder. And I think it came out really cool looking. Alright, so it is done. Let's get to work on shading her body. So what I've got on my palette here is the original skin tone. This is a custom mix that I just put in this little bottle for me to easily squirt out. But this is a custom mix of the skin tone. And the previous videos, I think video number 1, I showed you what colors I used to mix up the skin tone. And then to this original skin tone, I have added some beige red, see if we can get that to focus. There we go. Some beige red, and it is very, very thin. I don't want to, I'm not painting it on. It's kind of like a wash, but it only in the areas that I want those little bit of extra darkness to show up. So I've added a few drops of flow improver because you guys know, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know how much I love my flow improver. And just some distilled water, and got to a very thin consistency. Let me see if I can get this up here to show you. This is, when I drag it up onto the white, I may go even thinner than that. You're basically at a wash consistency, so that's what you want to do. I am going to add a little more water. Super thin. You can probably see that. Okay, so everywhere that there is what you would want, per se, a shadow, is where you're going to add your darker tone. So we're lightly just putting a little wash type look, and you can see that it brings that realism to it. If you want it a little darker, just add another coat to it. It's all about strategic placement of those darker tones. You'll see me use my fingers a lot. You're not trying to add an actual another coat of paint. You just want subtle hints of where a shadow would be. If you look at how this arm is positioned, you would see that if looking in the sun, this would be shadowed just from her arm being up in the air. So we're going to add a little bit darker along this side. And all along her back, she's got this indentation, and then everywhere there's these little, you know, places in her body. We're going to add a little bit of darkness to that to increase that. There is one side done and one side not done. And you can see the difference. I say done. This is far from done because we're going to do, you know, different shades of different levels of shading. It's not a one and done process. Otherwise, she'd look like she had tiger stripes on her back. So everywhere that there's a little crease, shadow, indentation, anything that you want to recess, this is where you're going to put your darker tone. Normally I would add a little pink, but with this model I don't want to go too alive. I know that sounds silly, but if it was a different character, I would add a little more pink, or a little pink. Sometimes I do this with chalk pastels. It just depends on my mood, I guess. See, you're not adding a whole bunch of color. This is still wet, so I don't want to touch it, but you're only adding just like the dimension. Okay, I went ahead and got all the rest of that done off camera. You pretty much got the idea of what I was doing. And this is going to be the darkest. I know it looks like a mess right now, but this is going to be the darkest part of the shadow. And so now what I'm going to do is do a little dry brushing to blend all this in. Right now it looks like a stark contrast, so a little bit silly looking, but it will look better once things start blending. And I'm still just using that thinned paint just to use it up. I want to get almost all of it off there though, because, you know, obviously dry brushing is with a dry brush and not a bunch of paint on it. And I'm just blending what I put on there before. I mean, not inside the deepest parts, but just where it meets her skin tone. I still want that definition that I'm getting from the dark paint. And just keep blending, and then we'll come back and get those highlights and probably add a little more depth in the darkest creases. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep going over this with my dry brush with my dark color, and then once I finish that, I will come back and we'll start on the highlighting. Okay, we have gotten all of our dry brushing done, and you can see it just tones that down. Maybe. There we go. And just tones down all of that, you know, really dark that we did in the center. And yeah, I know it looks like she's got a really bad fake tan, but once we're finished with the highlight dry brush, well, not really highlight. I'm going to say it's more close to the actual skin tone that I originally was on her, and then the really high spots will get a highlight. So it won't look like she's got such a bad fake tan when we're done. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to use my original skin tone. And then like a half drop, not much paint at all, of the beige red. See, I went a lot with the beige red in the beginning for the dark, and then now we're going just a hair lighter than the original. No, a hair darker. I can't think today. I just got back from vacation, so yeah, I'm still kind of in vacation mode. In this, we're just blending into the darker spots, but trying to stay more in the raised areas. How about I get that where you can see it? And it looks a little more drastic on camera. I'm not sure why, but it's a little more subtle in person. You can see we're starting to lose that harsh line where it was skin tone and then dark tone. This is kind of a medium blend of the two. And I don't want to get into any of the, this is like a muscle definition line, so I don't want to get into any of that very far, because then you lose everything that you did. Now you can see we're getting that definition in her thigh there. And just go slow. The cool thing about this is if you slowly change your colors, you'll see that it, that it comes out how you want it to. You can't get scared of like the beginning. Some people start light and go to dark. It's, for some reason, it's easier for me to start dark and go light. It's just what works best for you. And, it may be easier for you to start light and go dark. This is just the way I do things. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I would probably venture to guess that it's more on the side of wrong than anything else. But I like how my stuff comes out most of the time. Just like anybody, you can pick your pieces apart. There is always something that I feel like I could do better. But at some point you just have to say, it's done. I can't do anything else to it. Because, you can end up working on a piece for months if you continually try to do something else to it. And this is why I save those old brushes, because I am a crazy person when it comes to dry brushing. Vigorous. That's what we call it. Vigorous. And I'm not getting into the dark areas that I want to stay as a shadowed. now I'm going to go with this Reaper Fair Shadow. And I'm just adding a little bit lighter tones. You can see. I think I'm going to lighten that up just a little bit more. This is Vallejo Light Flush. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty good with that. It's not professional, but I never claimed to be a professional. So I'm going to take a little break and then we'll start on this thing. Slingtard, Unitard, Vampirella outfit. Yes. Okay, I have finished all of the highlights. Just highlighted in areas that needed it and then left the dark areas where I wanted them dark. So now what I'm going to start on is highlighting her white collar. And I'm going to use a toned down gray for that highlight, because white is really hard to not to show shadows and highlights on white is just probably the hardest thing for me. But I did notice when I put her head on that I needed to add a little bit more white right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so what I'm using is Vallejo Game Color Dead White. There we go. And Model Air Light Gray. And I just want a hint of gray. So I'm going really light. And I'm just getting like where the ring connects. There's a few little wrinkles there. You probably can't even see that difference on camera. But it's there, I promise. Then I'm going to mix it up a little bit darker. I'm just going to blend that out a little bit. And hopefully you can see that. And trusty flow improver because I just love it. The reason I love it so much is because, well, flow improver means that it just makes my paint go on so much easier. Like no brush strokes. You can't see, you know, like where the hairs of the brushes. Just hitting the edge. It just raises it up off of the skin. And there we go. There's that. Now let's go with the red. I'm going to use Citadel Novastan red and burnt red to get my shadows for her. Yes, that thing she's wearing. One day I might know what that is, but that day is not today. See, once again, we're quite a bit darker. You can see on my brush, maybe, that it is quite a bit darker than what is on her body. But then we'll go back with highlight and it will all come together. And just go into the shadows, the dark area. If you hold your model in a light and you look at how the light hits the model, I can see the areas that would have shadow, like underneath things would have a shadow. Here in her, where the ring connects, all these little wrinkles, these would have shadow. So that's what this is. Just adding a little bit of dark right on the edge. Just anywhere I want variations in the fabric. Okay, now we will go back with a little bit lighter. Add some bloody red to it. I'm just blending that together. What's that saying? Use the right tool for the job. Well, my dry brush was too big. A little bit lighter. I'm going to add a teeny bit of white because I don't want pink, but I do want to add a little bit of highlight just on the very high areas. Well, I wasn't paying attention. I don't know how much of that you saw, how much you didn't. I didn't pay attention to how long I was recording. Okay, go a little bit lighter. Like I said before, I don't want pink, so to avoid that I may add in, I don't know, some gray. But a little pink is not bad because I'm only doing this on highlights, so it might be okay. Let's try it and see. That's all I can do. Just try it and see. And I'm just getting a very, very center tippy top. All right. The only thing we got left is the gold and the base. And she'll be done. Okay, I think I'm going to shade the gold with just like a black wash. I don't want to add any additional color, so I think I'm just going to get the edges with a black wash. We'll see what happens. If I don't like it, I can always change it. There you can see. I didn't want to take away any of the shine from the gold, but I wanted to give it a little bit of depth. Yeah, I'm kind of digging it. I like it. All right. I need to do a little highlight on her boot. Her boots. She does have two on. I'm going to come back and dry brush that in a little bit. once it dries a little bit. And then all I'm going to do is blend this a little bit in with the black. So I will probably do that off camera, and then I will come back and we'll finish the base and we will call her done. Okay, let's get this base done. I've already filled my peg holes, keys, with some silly putty, and I'm going to paint these skulls up real quick. I'm going to use a combination of Bone White and Kiss of Flesh to get that base skull color. I'm not too worried about getting it on the base color on the base because that's all going to be covered up. All right. I say that a lot, don't I? All right. Let that dry down, and we'll come back and put a wash on it. Add a little dark shadows around a few things, and then we will treat this base, and that'll be that. I'll be right back. Okay, these little guys are dried, so let's put a wash on them. This is my homemade wash: brown paint, brown ink, water, and a drop or two of dish soap, dishwashing liquid. I prefer to make my own washes because I can make whatever color I want, and it's a whole lot cheaper. So let's just get in here and see what kind of mess we can make. I want them to be dirty, old looking skulls. And let that dry. I think I might add just a couple of highlights. Probably not much because I really like the way this is looking right now. Yeah. Alrighty, I will come back in just a few and we'll finish this and we'll be almost done. Right back. Alright, our skulls have dried. That sounded kind of silly, didn't it? Our skulls have dried. So now we're going to start on this base. I'm going to do on this one of my favorite things to do because, you know, as a printed piece of PLA, it's just kind of like there. So we're going to give this some texture and kind of taking a little bit of a step from my diorama building. I've found that this works amazingly well on bases, just the same as it does on diorama terrain. So it's my favorite thing to do. You can use watered down PVA, aka school glue. I prefer to use Scenic cement from Woodland Scenics. It's basically watered down school glue. And a big old paintbrush. And we're going to paint this all over. It's just very thin PVA. And this is why I was saying earlier how I don't really care what runs down onto the base from the skulls, because it's all going to be covered up. Well, this is the covering up of that. So we're just going to paint this on. This is also a really good thing to do if you want to print your bases at, like, you know, a 0.2 layer height or greater. Do a quick and dirty print and cover, and you're good. Okay, so we've got all of this soaked with our Scenic cement. Don't worry about this, it's all good. And then go into your mother, wife, girlfriend, sister drawer and get one of her stockings. And then I use an old spray can lid. And what is in here is nothing more than tile grout. But the stuff, when you put it on this with the Scenic cement and let it dry, it becomes literally hard as a rock. I mean, you've seen tile grout, how hard that is. And I'm just sprinkling through that stocking. And it literally turns it into a rock. You can do this as thick or thin as you want. I usually just do one layer. It makes a mess. That's why I've got the newspaper down here. And then just shake off the excess. And there you go. Clean off the bottom a little bit. Put my excess back in my container. I bought probably a year ago, I would say, a small box of tile grout. And I don't know how many dioramas I've made, how many bases I've done with it. Not even used a quarter of the box. So it lasts a while. Alright, so let's do the top. That's why I've filled the peg holes, my goodness, I can't talk, with the silly putty. And I'm getting right up to the edge of those skulls, so it will look like the skulls are embedded into the ground, because that's how they already look in the base. Okay, we'll do our little shaker. Whatever you get on the skulls, you can just brush off. So now, what I want to do, because I've got a lot on here, I wanted a good build up, so I'm going to brush it off. Okay, skull's all cleaned off. You can continue to clean those off later, but what we're going to do now, going to spray this with some IPA. And I took a little pipette and just get that all really, really good. Really soaked good. Isopropyl alcohol breaks the surface tension of the tile grout, because if you didn't do that, it would just kind of beat up on the edges. And now we wait for that to dry. I'm going to take my brush and go a little bit closer right here. I think I'm going to go ahead and embed my cross. I painted this off camera. This tile grout will dry lighter. It's darker while it's wet, but it will dry a little bit darker than the original color. I think this color is sand, if I remember correctly. What it looks like up close. It will, like I said, dry lighter than that. And that's why I do the base coat of brown, so that, you know, anything that doesn't get completely covered, you're not really going to see a huge difference. Alright, so let's start gluing some things on. If you guys like my videos, but if you would like to help support my channel, a subscribe is always welcome. If you would like to, I don't know, buy me a bottle of paint or a Starbucks, that would be fantastic. There's a link in the description where you can do that if you are so inclined. And we'll just smooth that down a little bit with the brush. See if you can see right here, maybe. See if I can zoom that in. This spot right here that I missed with the alcohol. See how that beads up and rolls off? You don't want that. That alcohol makes it where it just breaks that surface tension. And now it just soaks right in. And there she is. Miss Vampirella. Thanks, Brian, for a great model. Very pleased with it. I will post some pictures at the end of this video. I want to thank every single person for watching, those that have subscribed throughout this series. I appreciate it so much. I look forward to having you guys back when I start my next project. I will probably make a short on what that's going to be. But, yeah, here she is. Vampirella by Brian Neo. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, stay awesome. Have a great day, night, morning, evening, wherever it is in the world that you are. Yeah. Thanks for watching.